Hello everybody, and welcome back to Aero League Racing Tier 2. My name is Aman, and you all join me today for the Texas Grand Prix. I'm so sorry for how late and how suddenly this stream has started up, but we have made it here on time, and we should be in store for some very, very exciting racing here today. And right before we do get this this session started, we want to give a big congratulations to Bambino for winning the Drivers' Championship in Tier 2. A fantastic run from him. And while we have the chance, and speaking of Bambino, let's discuss the standings for the drivers. So, Bambino, who is your championship winner with a total of 177 points, currently is your championship winner. We have Jaguar in P2 with 95 points, 82 points behind Bambino at the moment. DDK in P3 with 91 points. We have Trems in P4 with 77, and Jim in P5 with 72. The rest of the top 10 are Saeed, Jack, Nikadza, Dax, and Jack Kings. Looking at the constructor standings, Mercedes currently lead the championship with 187 points, but are very closely followed behind by... I should probably go out to the out lap while I have the chance. Just let me get this all set up, and boom, we should be good. So yes, Mercedes currently lead the championship with 187 points. We have Red Bull in P2 with 172, Williams in P3 with 92 points. We have AlphaTauri in P4 with 79, and Alpine in P5 with 69 points. The rest of the top 10 would include McLaren, Ferrari, Haas, Alfa Romeo, and Aston Martin in that order. So I know it was a very sudden and very short notice, but yes, we have gotten the Texas Grand Prix underway. Apologies, I just need to clarify one or two things. Right. Okay, I think now we should be good without any disturbances for the rest of the race. So, currently riding on board with Hallinan, who's approaching the final corner out on track, and we should be watching so it should be the first time lap here. So, riding on board with him, heading up towards turn 1. It is obviously an uphill braking, so drivers can be expected to brake super late, and it's a very wide corner as well, so be sure to look forward to a lot of dive bombs and a lot of late lunges into that corner. There's two DRS straights around this section, and of course here's the patented S section of COTA, which has caught a lot of drivers off guard on multiple different occasions, and has been the result of a lot of track invalidations as well. So it'll be important for drivers to make sure that they keep their cars out on track, and it'll be an interesting play on setups as well, considering there's a lot of straights here, and there's a lot of straights here to really maximize your top end speed. But obviously with all these corners, some drivers will be looking for more of a balanced setup rather than favoring too highly in terms of downforce or top speed. But it seems like Hallinan seems to be on a pretty good run himself as he's crossing the Haas now. We see Abmo, interestingly enough, currently... Oh, whoa, what is Abmo doing in Tier 2? I'm pretty sure he wasn't in this tier. I may have missed something, but... Yes, at the moment, Hallinan seems to be on an absolute flyer, of course setting a purple Sector 1 and 2, but that being because he is the first driver to cross through Sector 1 and 2. So right on board with him for just a bit longer and see how his lap progresses. Only 2 more corners left to go now. And there's some beautiful drops and beautiful camera angles that we can get here at COTA. But now Hallinan coming across the line, DRS wide open. He sets a 134.3, and that is the benchmark for a lot of these other drivers. Let's take a look at what his teammate Zab is capable of doing at the moment. At this current time, actually, Prezemu in the McLaren comes across the line with a 133.9, 4/10 faster, and now Zab, trying to compete with his teammate, comes across the final corner. What sort of times will he be setting? Comes across the line, sets a 134.0. So he does manage to beat his teammate and barely misses out on provisional pole at the moment. Good lap times from him. A very competitive grid at the moment. It seems like Blurry is about to begin his first time lap of the session. There's a Red Bull out on track as well. That seems to be Trems now, coming through the final corner. Fortunately, we didn't get a ride on board with him throughout the whole lap. Ooh, as he's very squirrely through the exit there, basically drifts through that corner, but he still manages to set a fantastic lap time of a 133.1, 8/10 faster than P2 at the moment. Well, Larry, on the other hand, also not too far behind from crossing the line. I wish we would catch these guys up on the whole laps, but regardless, O'Leary now coming across the line sets a 134.4, and unfortunately that slots him down into P7. Abmo, on the other hand, with only a few more corners left to go, and Blurry Julio, who's currently in P12, of course hasn't set a lap time as of yet. Abmo on the medium tires as well, important to note. And already it looks like it's not really going to be too much of a competitive lap time from him. Of course, granted, he is on the slower compounded tire, sets a 135.2, and is currently in P9 as CL. I'll just call you CL for short. I'm sorry if that's an I, but that's what it looks like. But currently spinning out, unfortunately. JP9 on the flyer himself. Let's ride on board with JP9, who I believe is one of the newer drivers for Ferrari. I heard that there was a new player who has recently joined ALR, so it would be exciting to see what kind of progress he can make. Riding on board with him now as he's coming through the first DRS section with DRS wide open. At the moment, Trem's currently leading the grid with a 133.1. Rigo not too far behind with a 133.4 himself. No drivers entering the sub 132s at the moment. But I'm sure as the session progresses, that will most definitely change. And JP9 at the moment seems to be on a pretty good lap himself. It doesn't look like he's lighting the timing sheets up with any purple sectors. However, good consistent laps and putting himself near the front of the grid will present him with a ton of opportunities to maybe improve through the actual race itself. But now, coming to the final corner, JP9 in the Ferrari, DRS wide open, comes across the line and sets a 134.1, a very mediocre benchmark lap as compared to the rest of the grid. Currently slots himself in P7. We'll be looking to see if he can maybe improve through the rest of the session. So Blurry Julio was on a run of himself, and of course our championship winner Bambino, who's currently on a run himself, following his teammate very closely behind by the looks of it, maybe trying to capitalize on that slipstream through the DRS straights. Seems that Blurry Julio's already has already done one singular lap around here, and as we can see, Bambino obviously utilizing that slipstream advantage that he has from his teammate ahead. Of course, his teammate getting out of the way very comfortably for him, as so Bambino can reap the benefits of this amazing teamwork display that we have seen. Of course, we saw that CL now coming to the final corner out on track. Unfortunately, was spinning out earlier on in his out lap. Looks like he's able to put together a lap now. Sets a 134.8. Not too competitive from him. He's currently in P10, only a few tenths behind his teammate. Nikudza as well, not too far behind. And Bambino now coming through the final corner. Obviously, he's already decided the championship, but unfortunately invalidates his lap time. Does set a 134.3, and that would have been good enough to maybe place him around the P9 mark, but unfortunately that's not really happening now, is it? Now, Nikudza, on the other hand, has set a purple Sector 2. We've seen that this driver has proven to be very quick, as shown by his qualifying paces and his race pace at oftentimes as well, but yet to produce a very promising or prominent result. Hopefully, maybe this is the time where he can change that for himself. And Nikudza in the Haas, though. I apologize for my voice as well. I am actually coming down with something and my nose is completely blocked. But Nikudza now coming across the line, sits a 133.3, 1/10 faster than his teammate in the Haas, and manages to put himself up into P2. A fantastic lap from him. It seems Przemu, Zab, and Alu are now currently out on their out laps. It seems like Przemu is the driver up ahead of everybody else, so we'll ride on board with him and see what sort of lap times he can set. He is a bit squirrely through the exit of that corner. Won't be a great thing for him as he heads down towards turn 1, as he's only going to be losing time. Hopefully not a significant amount, though. Now coming through this S section, let's hope he doesn't invalidate as we ride on board with him. And that's the best way to handle those corners, is just to ride over the curbs as significantly as possible. Obviously minimizing corner cutting and whatnot, but he's already down by 1/10.5 on his previous lap time, unfortunately. So currently in P4 at the moment. We'll be looking to bring that time back up, as there's 3 cars ahead of him at the moment. Hopefully he doesn't suffer from any traffic issues. And there seems to be, he's weaving through, and then Williams did not get out of the way, unfortunately. It's important for drivers to remember that they should move. If it was Abmo, well, I guess if it was Abmo, then we can forgive him. Now Presem coming towards the end of Sector 2 manages to set a 103.2. He's only a tenth up on his current lap time. Still tons of room to and tons of time to improve, but of course it's not promising when you're losing time so significantly. Let's see if he can pull a rabbit out of his hat through these final few corners. Only 2 more corners left to go on this track. Currently in P4, once again with a 133.9. Oh, and as I say that, Presemo unfortunately loses the car and drives straight into the barricade. And that is going to be the end of the McLaren driver's run. It's unfortunate that that's how it had to go, but the barrier was right there and he could not stop himself. And unfortunately, that's going to be the end of his qualifying run. 7 minutes and 30 seconds left to go as well, so there's a very big opportunity for other drivers to maybe get past him up on the grid and improve their lap times. We can see Rigo now, currently in P3. Only a tenth behind his teammate. See what sort of times he can set for himself as he's coming through the S section now. Keeps it extremely nice and tidy and coming through turn sector 1 and once again down on his current lap time. I mean up on his current lap time. Or down in the sense that he has lost time, but and also invalidated his lap. So that's going to be the end of Rigo's run. Meanwhile, Alu almost half a second up on his current lap time? There's no way that's accurate, right? Nope, most definitely isn't. 5 seconds currently lost to his previous lap time. But now we can look at Zabs, who is on a run of his own by the looks of it. Extremely low on ERS as well. JP9 in the Ferrari, of course, currently in P8 with a 134.1. Will be looking to redeem himself through his second run. As there's yellow flags basically everywhere. I'd like to see how much time is left in the session, but I suppose not. No, and Rigo has retired from the session. Brilliant. Mambino seems to be just out for a casual Sunday drive currently on his 3-lap old soft. He's just doing race practice right now. Bring our attention back to JP. Coming towards the end of Sector 2. Let's see what sort of times he's putting up. Sets a 102.9. He is 3.5 tenths up on his current lap time. So he's definitely going to need a lot more than that to fight near the front of the grid. However, this is a significant improvement from him, and it will shoot him up quite high up on the grid, I'd like to say, assuming that he can keep it nice and tidy through these final few corners now. JP coming through the final corner as most of the drivers have come back into the pits to prepare for their next few runs. JP comes across the line, sets a 133.4, and it's not good enough to be in the top 3, but he has put himself up into P4 very comfortably, a tenth ahead of P5 being Alu at the moment, and Halanan himself unfortunately also invalidating his run. Ooh, there was a bit of a lockup there from CL as I heard when I was riding on board with him. I hope the stream picked it up, but he is a tenth up on his current lap time, so that's good to see. I think it's been a while since I rode on board with someone through that S section, and just as I say that, he of course invalidates his run, and unfortunately he's going to have to come back to the pits in quite a hurry. With only 4 minutes left to go in the session, most of the drivers now will be preparing to make their final few runs, as we can see Nakadza actually beginning what should be one of his final few runs, if not the final run in this session. Currently in P2, only roughly 3 tenths behind Trems at the moment. Everything to fight for as he sets a purple Sector 1 already. Nakadza on an absolute flyer. Let's hope he can keep it nice and tidy through these next few corners now. Heading towards the DRS zone and going over the DRS detection point now. We've had a relatively intense qualifying session so far. It seems to be just an even gap between most of the field from each other, for the drivers ahead at least. But Nikudza now coming towards the end of Sector 2. He did set a purple Sector 1. Will he do the same in this section? And no, he will not. As a matter of fact, Nikudza actually lost time to his previous lap. And it looks like he's going to really need to pull something out of his hat now if he's looking to fight for provisional pole. And we can see Trems now with 3 minutes left to go in the session, now beginning his outlap. So what will Nikudza be able to do coming through the final few corners now? The fast left-hander followed by this 90-degree corner almost. Or a bit more than 90 actually. Or a bit less than 90, and Nikudza's actually drifted right off the track. Comes across the line and he's unfortunately 3/10 down on his current lap time. It seemed like through that final corner, Nikudza could just not find the grip as he was putting the power down, and unfortunately he's lost a significant amount of time. Meanwhile, Trems, who is currently on provisional pole, is on his outlap. He's obviously not looking to waste any time and is trying to extend that gap as much as possible, realizing maybe Nikudza is very much within his grasp. There's a bunch of other drivers have now also begun coming out onto the pits to begin their final few runs here in qualifying as well. Hello, King. Nice to see you. welcome to the stream. So almost every driver now out on their laps. We can see Blurry Julio, who is currently a 10th by the looks of it, coming through Sector 2. 2/10 down on his current lap time. He's not, unfortunately, looking to be improving any significantly. We can see Bambino is currently in P14. Hasn't set a lap time as of yet. We'll be looking to change that very, very soon. Want to hear some jokes? Yes, absolutely. I would love some jokes. But before those jokes do begin, I would like to watch Trems and Bambino and see what sort of lap times they can set, as Bambino is basically pushing Trems along now. Both drivers going extremely slowly as they're approaching the final few corners, and it looks like Bambino's actually going to go right back into the pits and decides to abandon going for a run. Trems now beginning the final run here in qualifying for himself. Only 50 more seconds left to go in the session as Bambino has retired. Let's see what Trems can do. It seems like Nikudza might also be on a run of his own. No, he hasn't validated his lap time, so that's going to be the end of his run. And unless anybody else can really step up to the plate, it doesn't look like anyone's really going to be fighting for pole position, as Trems does set a purple Sector 1. Ooh, a bit. There was a slap of oversteer through that corner there. Nearly lost control of the car. He's going to have to be a bit more careful than that. But with DRS wide open and heading towards the end of Sector 2, I don't really think it makes too much of a difference, as I don't really think many other drivers are going to be competing with Trems for pole position at the moment. As the qualifying session has come to an end, Nikudza and Jack Kings will not be improving their current lap times. Jack Kings unfortunately not being able to set a lap time at the moment, but Trems on the other hand is managing to set a purple Sector 2 as well. But now then, Trems, with only a few more corners left to go, has already pretty much secured provisional pole. Will he be able to just lock it down for good as he comes across the line, DRS wide open, and sets a 132.7, becoming the only driver in the session to enter the 132s. We can see Zab managing to promote himself up into P3, a fantastic lap time from him. JP unfortunately spinning out on his final run, and now Alu currently in P6 with a 133.5. Will he be able to challenge for provisional pole? We'll have to see. DRS wide open, and as he comes across the line, sets a 133.1, a fantastic lap time from him, however not good enough to take pole position away. Saeed Al-Falasi now coming across the line, and unfortunately doesn't look like he's going to be improving his lap time anytime soon. Halanan now comes across the line, sets a 133.7, promotes himself up into P7 as a matter of fact. And only a few more drivers left to cross the line now. Or, well, yeah, only 2 more drivers left. Of course, JP, of course, not going to be able to improve on this occasion. We can see how wide CL is going. And that's most likely going to be the end for his qualifying session. So, ladies and gentlemen, a big congratulations to Trems for securing pole position here at the Circuit of the Americas. Of course, their championship winner Bambino, currently down in P14, never actually set a lap time himself and has retired from the session. But we should be in store for what should be a very exciting race here at COTA today. Right, I'm not too sure what's happened here and why I've been placed into the cockpit of the car. I'm pretty sure I'm not the one driving in this session. I'm pretty sure I was spectating this race last time I checked, but this is a bit awkward, not to say the least. Not too sure what to do here either, unless I should just drive the opening lap around here, which would suck because I would want to commentate it all, but I guess what I could do is I'm not too sure. Hold on. Right, so I'm not too sure what to do here. If anyone has any advice in the chat as to what I can... Oh, has everyone left the session? Yep, everyone's left the session. Brilliant. I've been disconnected. Fucking, fucking great. Alright. I will try to... we'll try to rejoin Saeed. And let's hope everything goes well. You want me to drive? I haven't driven on F1 in forever. What am I supposed to do? Commentate mid-race? And I can't seem to get back into the session either. Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, let me fix this. Right then, ladies and gentlemen, we have completely missed the opening first lap of the session. Alu currently leading this race at the moment. Not too sure how that happened. Trent sending it down the inside now of the final the beginning lap of this, or the end of the first lap, and we can see already Alu managing to retain that position and managing to stay in currently in P1, but Trent's obviously not letting up yet. Heading down towards turn 1 in lap 2, and unfortunately a bit too far back to make the move. Sedev's Justamon is currently in P12, rocking it in that position. We can see Zab's currently in P3, JP managing to get up into P4, Bambino, who started at the back of the grid, already up to P5. Absolutely sensational. Rigo following very closely behind his teammate, Halanan in P8. And it seems like we have the race underway, and it seems like the soft and mediums is one of the strategies that most of the drivers have lined up. As we take a look, and it seems to be the general consensus for this race seems to be the medium tires, as I can take control of my car if I wish, but I choose not to do that. Now then, riding on board with Alu, who is currently on the hard tire compounds, one will only have to think it's only a matter of time before Trems can get past him. And now Trems heading towards around the outside this time of the DRS corner. Obviously no DRS within these first few laps, trying to keep it around the outside, using that tire advantage that he has to his disposal, and there seems to be quite a considerable bit of contact there between Alu and Trems, and once again Trems will have to concede and stay behind him for the current time being. Trems obviously looking to get past Alu as soon as possible, and Alu actually doing a fantastic job by covering off these corners, as there's a three-way fight by the looks of it near the back over here, as three drivers now fighting for third place, and now we can see Bambino trying to send it around the inside, trying to send it down the inside of JP. Unfortunately, nothing doing yet, as we have, I believe, DRS enabled this lap. Now Trems heading down towards turn 1. Unfortunately too far back to send a move. JP9 sending it down the inside of Zabs, as there's constant action, and there's a massive collision there between Zabs and JP, and unfortunately for JP, he loses out on 2 positions, dropped down into P5, and Bambino gets promoted up into P4. Of course, it's so difficult to keep track of all this action taking place. Thank God we have an aerial shot right here so we can get a better understanding of what everything is looking like at the moment. Obviously the Haas is in P6 and P7, trying to keep it as close as possible towards P3 at the moment. This is a complete DRS train by the looks of it, from P1 all the way down into P9. So tons of positions could be made up for at any given point. Bambino currently in P4, looking towards getting past his opponent, and it looks like Trends actually does manage to get past does manage to get past Alu, and now Bambino around the outside trying to make the move on Zab. Zab with that inside line, managing to keep, they're still side by side with each other, and once again Bambino with the inside line manages to make the move stick by the looks of it, and promotes himself up into P3, but Zab's not done with him just as yet, sends it down the inside once again. Fantastic racing here between the Mercedes and the Aston Martin, but once again Bambino does come out on top and promotes himself up into P3. Sensational racing here within the first few opening laps here at COTA, and already we can see that Alu and Trends are beginning to pull away from the rest of the pack, but not for too long, as Bambino's already beginning to close that gap significantly through only a few corners. Looking down the grid, we can see CL getting extremely close to Blurry. Will he be able to maybe make a move to heading towards turn 1? No, he will not. But the action continues here in lap 4 of 28. It was a bit chaotic there, but I'm glad we're out of that chaos now. Bambino already massively closing that gap to Alu. 3/10 now, separating both the drivers. It was only just a few minutes ago that Bambino, actually it'll be interesting to take a look at how many positions Bambino has made. So only in the course of 4 laps, Bambino's already made up 11 positions. Makes you really think how dominant he was this season, and of course the championship standings reconfirm that. He's basically trying to pull off a last to first every single time he's out here, and JP managing to get past Zab once again. Of course, after that previous incident that they had, JP is more than happy to now get past the Aston Martin without any incidents this time around. Bringing our attention near the front of the grid once again. Trems trying to pull away from Alu. And Bambino trying to get past Alu as soon as possible as well. Of course, Bambino does have the medium compounded tires, making him the quicker driver at the moment. At least when it comes to tires, at least. And through general pace as well, I think it's pretty undisputed that Bambino is very, very fast. But of course, Alu using that slipstream and DRS advantage that he has from the car ahead to keep Bambino behind him at the moment. Coming through the S section now. Not too sure what happened there. Might be having some internet issues myself, as it looked like Bambino drove straight off the track there, as JP's unfortunately picked up a 3-second time penalty for most likely track invalidations. Wait, did he pick up 2 penalties? No, okay, he just picked up 1. Yeah, at least down a little down the grid. Actually, no, never mind. I'll bring my attention right back up. Bambino is extremely close to Alu, but he keeps going out of his slipstream. It's almost as if Bambino doesn't want to overtake Alu at the moment. He's just slowly sticking behind him and basically trying to push him along here by the looks of it. Interesting strategy from Bambino. There's an overtake near the back of the grid. It seems to be between CL and Blurry at the moment, who are now side by side with each other. This is for the final points position here at COTA, and it looks like Blurry's actually going to come out on top. A fantastic move from him, driving around the outside and managing to make the move stick. He promotes himself up into P10. It seems like Bambino's extremely close to Alu at the moment. So just as I was looking at another battle, it looks like Alu and Bambino are now fighting for second place. Bambino obviously sticking his car right behind Alu, trying to make the move, heading into turn 1. It seems like he's a bit too far back on this occasion to make the move stick. So he's going to have to settle with being in P3 for now, as Nikudza gets past Zab. And Zab is now slowly beginning to drop down, and Rigo looking to pick up the scraps his teammates left behind for him as he's trying to get past him through this S section now. Is Rigo going to be daring enough to maybe make a move through this S section? It doesn't seem to be the case. A sensible move probably not to do that. And we can see it's a 4-way fight for first place at the moment. JP, Bambino, Alu, and Trems all duking it out to win this race. And now heading down this DRS straight, With DRS wide open, Alu's once again going to be trying to fight Trends and trying to beat him out on this occasion. Bambino pulling around to the outside, trying not to get the slipstream advantage, and it looks like Alu is just barely going to be able to make the most of the straight and does barely manage to make the move and gets back into first place. Trends now drops down into P2 on his 5-lap old soft. Truly has been a crazy few opening laps here. It's good to see that it's so action-packed. Once again, Bambino, DRS wide open, now trying to catch up to Trems. He once again pulls out of the slipstream, just trying not to overtake him by the looks of it. And Trems now fighting towards closing the gap between himself and Alu as well. Some more interesting action going on near the back of the grid. As we can see, Saeed actually was extremely close to Nikudza just for a few moments there. And that gap has once again come back up, but of course their main attention should be near the front of the grid, as this is the fight for the lead of the race. Bambino yet to really make a significant move, and now we can see Trems using his DRS advantage, trying to catch up to Alu as much as he possibly can. Alu going defensive, taking that inside line. And now Trems around the outside will send it around the outside of Alu as they're both side by side with each other. Obviously, Alu being on that hard tire compound, making it as difficult as possible for Trems. And P1 to P4 basically sandwiched together as even the slightest or smallest mistake. And that's exactly what I was talking about as Bambino sees an opening and sends it down the inside of Trems and manages to promote himself up into P2. There was a bit of contact between some of the drivers there, but luckily it looks like everyone's come away from it without any significant amounts of damage or any damage by the looks of it. And now Trems obviously not going to be too happy with that. We'll be looking to get this position right back from Bambino as soon as he possibly can. DRS now wide open once again, heading down the start-finish straight. Riding on board with Trems, you can see that Bambino's actually beginning to slowly pull away as he's closing the gap to Alu, but unfortunately they're just too far back. Another interesting development is near the back of the grid. We can see Halanan coming into a battle with Nikudza at the moment. It seems to be a Haas-Aston Martin sandwich at the moment. And it seems like Nikudza around the outside, heading into the S section there, manages to make the move stick and manages to retain P7 at the moment. It doesn't help JP that he has picked up a penalty so early on in this race, obviously with 20 laps left to go. He's going to have to be extremely careful as to not make any more mistakes. As this race continues now, Bambino a lot closer to Alu on this occasion. Once again, DRS wide open, following that Alpine, trying to make sure that he gets past it, heading towards the end of this straight. And it looks like it's not really going to be too much of a battle for Bambino as he manages to make the move before the corner even begins and promotes himself up into P1. Oh, and there seems to be a massive incident involving JP and Trems there at the back of the grid. There were some parts of carbon fiber flying out on track, so I'm not entirely too sure who may have experienced a lot of damage there. We can see the front wing of the Ferrari does seem to have experienced a significant amount of damage there. Can't really say the same for the Red Bull at the moment, but unfortunately for JP and Trems, that incident has costed them dearly, as Rigo now, interestingly enough, has brought himself up into P4. And it looks like Rigo is actually going to reap the benefits of that incident. JP unfortunately has to go into the pits to fix his front wing. Not how you would want your debut race to begin, but of course so many more laps to go in the session. Anything could really happen. And as the running order goes, it seems to be Bambino who's currently leading the race, Alu in P2, and now Rigo in P3. Oh, and once again, Nikudza and Halanan coming at each other's throats once more. The Haas and Aston Martin teams have been really butting heads here through this race. And at the moment, it seems like Nikudza, who's unfortunately dropped behind the Aston Martin team. Nothing significant though. It looks like he'll be able to catch right back up to them if he pleases. But of course, he does have to worry about the Alpine of Saeed, who is right behind him, and Saeed does not look to be wasting any sort of time. And neither does Nikudza as he sends it down the inside, heading towards into the DRS zone. But unfortunately for him, he just can't get the traction out of the corner there, and that has costed him ever so slightly. As Saeed now looking towards the inside line, looking to maybe make a potential overtake. Hallinan now has to defend from both drivers, as it seems to be a three-way fight heading into this next corner. And unfortunately for Hallinan, he loses out on two positions as Nikudza and Saeed promote themselves ahead of the Aston Martin driver into P6 and P7. And already we can see Bambino beginning to pull a gap from Alu. It's a 1.3 second gap separating the drivers at the moment. Trems, who's currently in P4, luckily hasn't experienced too much damage after that incident with JP earlier in the session. Currently still in P4, only 4/10 behind P3 at the moment as well. And Saeed, who's done valiantly to keep fighting near the midfield of this race so far, will be looking to maybe gain a few more positions as this race continues. Currently 4/10 himself behind Nikudza. With DRS wide open, we can expect to see that gap coming down ever so slowly as well. As is the case with Trems and Rigo as well. Rigo currently in P3, Trems in P4, basically pushing that Haas along, trying to follow him through this S section with the dirty air. And we can see Trems unfortunately losing a little bit of time through that corner, through those sequence of corners actually. Oh, as there was a massive lockup there from the Red Bull. His front right is not going to be happy with that. Of course, 7/10 separating him and Rigo. Now Rigo actually beginning to pull away ever so slightly. This DRS should bring the gap right back down. Saeed extremely close to Nikudza now. And now Saeed sending it down the inside of the Haas driver. Saeed has been waiting for this moment for quite a considerable amount of time. And he does manage to make the most of it. Promotes himself up into P6. Nikudza slowly beginning to lose out on multiple positions here. We'll be looking to regain that pace back. So you see a sandwich between the McLarens at the moment. And obviously those soft runners will be experiencing quite a bit of degradation at this point. Did JP get his front wing changed? I don't know if they changed it or not. I'm pretty sure they must have, unless he came in for a second pit stop because the first time around it didn't fix his front wing. However, I'm pretty sure that would explain why the gap is so massive all of a sudden. He was fighting near the front of the grid. I couldn't have imagined that he would fall so far behind unless he had to make a second pit stop. Nikudza now not done with Saeed as of yet. Coming through this S section now. I love this aerial shot. Ooh, and actually, Trems and Rigo coming into a battle of their own. It seems like Trems actually managing to get past Rigo on this occasion. I'm not too sure what happened there. It seemed like Rigo must have been involved in some sort of incident. Ooh, it was seemed like he was over revving his engine there for a split second, and I thought he was going to spin out, but no. Nikudza and Saeed once again coming into a battle. We saw Saeed get past Nikudza on the previous lap, and now Nikudza getting past Saeed on this lap. But Saeed obviously trying to take alternative lines, trying to make the most of it, as he's now almost side by side with the Haas driver, maybe looking for a switchback and trying to get a better run out of this corner. And he does seem to get a very nice run out of this corner, but Nikudza slams the door shut on him, won't allow Saeed to make the most out of his momentum through there, and unfortunately he's going to have to stay in P7 for the current moment. Heading down towards the pit straight, however, Saeed has a brilliant opportunity to maybe make a move, but it looks like Nikudza is actually opting to come straight into the pits and move off of his medium tire compound. A bit early to make the mediums, to switch off of the mediums, as most of the drivers haven't really come in for their pit stops as of yet. But now that does free up Saeed to maybe challenge fighting towards Zab and fighting near the front of the grid once again. JP actually setting the fastest lap of the race with a 1:35.7. Very impressive lap time from him. There's a lot of drivers seem to be continuously locking up. It's CL now, only 2.5 tenths behind Przemu. Obviously using his DRS, but it looks like Przemu is going to be using as much of his battery as he possibly can, as we did see the flashing red light signifying less than 10% ERS. But unfortunately, it's too little too late, as we can see that front left of CL just continuously locking up. But unfortunately, he's a bit too far back to make the move and has to stay currently in P8 at the moment. Zab once again significantly closer to Rigo. We've been seeing this gap somewhat come down as the laps have been progressing. Obviously, Rigo on the hards and Zab on the mediums. The gap has come down once again, and it seems like Hallinan has also come in for his pits along with Przemu and Seal as well. Blurry also picking up a 3-second time penalty for track invalidations. And with only 15 laps left to go in this race, really makes you wonder if there's anybody's really going to be fighting Bambino anytime soon. We obviously haven't had a virtual safety car or a safety car at the moment. Seems like Justamon has also come into the pits and has made his pit stop to switch onto the medium tires. We can see Zab now, currently in P4, only 3 tenths behind Rigo at the moment. 6 tenths now. If I get enough messages in the chat, I will hop into the car in the final 5 laps.
Do you want me to spam it?
Yeah, you want to see me drive? Close that gap to JP. We'll bring our attention down to Przemu, who is currently 4 tenths down on CL, who's continuously locking up through those corners.
Mind if I say something real quick?
No, not at all. Please.
You got this, CI. I believe in you.
Oh, it's CI. I thought it was CL. I can't tell. It's a straight line. Alright, CI. You have this in the bag. Currently in P11, and Jack King's actually managing to promote himself up into P4 after Zab and Saeed come in for their pit stops. Very interesting development over there. And it seems after all these pit stops, the only 2 drivers that can't be separated at the moment are Hallinan and Saeed. As Saeed has been looking at scrapping with everyone essentially through this race, hasn't really gotten a moment to relax. As either he's being chased or is chasing. And this is the halfway point of this race. No safety cars or virtual safety cars as of yet. So good on you, Tier 2. Say now. 3.5 tenths behind Hallinan, gaining ever so slowly on the Aston Martin. He pulls towards the inside line. There doesn't look like there's a lot Hallinan can really do in a situation like this. Brakes super late, trying to send it around the outside, but unfortunately he can't make the move stick as Saeed promotes himself up into P8. Great move from Saeed. Oh! And very interestingly, Alu, who was currently in P2, now has come in for his pit stop to switch onto the medium tire compound. Obviously, he'll be looking to run this towards the end of the race, and Bambino, who was on the mediums to start the session, will be moving on to the hards, of course. And this will be an interesting development, how Bambino will be able to beat out Alu on the fresher compounded tires and the faster compounded tires, of course. Unless Bambino's looking to go on and put on the softs himself and maybe stretch these hards out for as long as he can. Or let's talk about Trems at the moment. Jack Kings on his 14-lap-old mediums really can't really do much to prevent Trems in the Red Bull from getting through, as he's currently still side by side with him, heading towards the corner. But it doesn't look like there's really much the McLaren driver can do to prevent this move from taking place. Trems sends it down the inside and manages to make the move and promotes himself up into P3. Currently 17 seconds behind the race leader. And interestingly enough, if Bambino was to come into the pits, Trems would come out ahead. Obviously, we'll have to see how that fares, considering he would have the older compound of tires as compared to Bambino after he makes his pit stop. But at the moment, things are promising for him. Seems like the closest action at the moment seems to be between Prezemu and CI. I'm sorry for calling you CL throughout the entire session as well. My apologies, man. It's important to keep note of the timing sheets above, as well as Alu, we can see, is also closing that gap between Jack Kings and himself. And now we can see Prezemu trying to make the move on CI. Sends it down the inside and manages to make the move stick. Will CI try to get a switch back? Unfortunately, he cannot. And Prezemu promotes himself up into P10. Into P10. Riding on board with Alu now, he's pushing that McLaren along, realizing that he needs to get past him as soon as possible if he has any chance of fighting Bambino near the end of this race. After Bambino, of course, makes his pit stop, and Alu doing just that, getting past Jack Kings as soon as he possibly could, and now promoting himself up into P4. And I don't think Jack Kings is really going to be close enough to contend with him heading into this next corner, and stays in P5. We do have a yellow flag in Sector 3, and it seems to be Rigo. Rigo has completely spun his car out. He was currently in P2, quite way far back from Bambino, but it still was him in second place at the moment. Unfortunately, he's had some sort of moment there with his 15-lap-old Haas that have caused him now to go into the pits as well. That's costed him significantly. He would have much rather had to do this pit stop without having to worry about anything else. And more interestingly enough, Bambino now exiting out of the pits with his soft tire compound. So this is exactly what we were talking about. He was trying to stretch his hards out for as long as possible so he could utilize these softs at the end of this race. But what's more important is both Trems and Alu did manage to perform the undercuts and did get past him. Now Trems and Alu currently sitting in P1 and P2 respectively. And so the chase begins for Bambino. 11 laps left to go here in the session. A significant amount of time, and it doesn't look like it's going to be... Well, you never really know with this game, I guess. So 11 laps left to go. Let's see how Bambino fights his way, or if he can fight his way back towards the front of the grid. We'll be keeping a very close eye on the timing sheets, as we can already see Bambino getting almost within that DRS zone, or the DRS gap, with Alu. It looks like Prezemu and CI are really duking it out for the final points position. Once again, CI actually comes out on top on this occasion, currently in P9, but the battle's far from over as of now. Prezemu still trying to keep up with the Alfa Romeo driver as much as he possibly can, but CI looks to have done a pretty decent job at defending himself and promotes himself back up into P9. And Bambino's already brought this gap down to half a second between him and Alu. And obviously Bambino being on the softer tire compound and with only 10 laps left to go in the session. It's going to be extremely close to see who comes out on top. Obviously Bambino can't make any moves through this S section. He's going to have to stay behind him at the moment unless Alu makes a massive mistake. And riding on board with Bambino now as they're about to go through the DRS zone. And we can already see Bambino, how much speed he can carry through this corner more than Alu can. And now, how will Alu defend from this? There doesn't seem like there's much he can do. And Bambino already, before the corner even begins, manages to make the move stick and promotes himself up into P2. We saw Alu try to follow him right back through his slipstream, but unfortunately, there's just nothing he can do against that soft tire compound. He's just going to have to hope and pray that he can stick close enough to him to wait for that degradation and maybe take advantage of that. But what's more interesting now is Bambino, right after getting past the Alpine, is looking to immediately get past Trems, as he's basically pushing this Red Bull along through this long right-hander, waiting for Trems to make some sort of mistake. He's basically right up onto the diffuser of the car. Unfortunately, not enough room there for both cars to make a move, but Bambino will be patient, and now heading down this pit straight. It's only a matter of time before the Mercedes does get past this Red Bull, and already DRS wide open and Bambino already getting past Trems. Trems trying to stay in that slipstream, but unfortunately there's just nothing he can do against the pace of the championship winner, and has to stay behind him and drops down into P2. Driver we were talking about quite consistently near the start of the session was obviously Nikudza. He obviously had that moment in the opening few laps where he dropped down a significant amount of positions, but he's really fought himself way back up into the field, currently sitting in P5 at the moment. And another interesting development is between Alu and Trems. Obviously, after Bambino managed to get past Trems, it really did hinder him quite significantly, and now the gap between the drivers is extremely down as Nikudza actually gets overtaken by Saeed, and Saeed manages to promote himself up into P5. We're riding on board with Alu, DRS wide open as he heads down this DRS zone. Heading down towards the corner with the inside line, Alu manages to make the move, and it looks like Trems is trying to get the switchback. Unfortunately, not enough room there for both cars, as Trems is now slowly trying to stick behind him, trying to get a better run through these corners, but unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to do so. And Alu manages to promote himself up into P3, and Saeed Al Falasi, completely flying at the moment, manages to get past not only Nikudza but Zabs only a few corners after each other, and Saeed manages to promote himself up into P4. Saeed himself seems to be on an absolute flyer at the moment, trying to catch up to the top three now. Bambino obviously setting the fastest time of the race with a 1:35.1 with his softs. Already a 3.1 second gap between him and P2. And Trems actually closing that gap ever so slightly through the DRS zone. Brings the gap down to 3.5 tenths. Look at what Rigo's up to at the moment. Rigo currently in P11. He was P2 for quite a considerable amount of time. Obviously hadn't come in for his pit stop at the moment, as there seems to be a yellow flag in Sector 1. It seems to be Blurry, who has retired from the session within the pits. And unfortunately, that's going to be the end of Bambino's teammates' run. And all of a sudden, Trems trying to follow Alu as much as he possibly can, but he's still unable to get that move to stick. And Alu continues to stay in P2 at the moment. We have multiple yellow flags in both Sector 1 and Sector 2. Sector 1 obviously being Blurry, whose car has unfortunately entered back out onto the track at the moment. As these laps continue, it just seems like Trems is just unable to keep up with Alu at the moment. He keeps bringing the gap down through these DRS zones, but of course through the corners he's just unable to keep up with him. Once again, the gap down to 3 tenths was 7 tenths at the start of the straight. You're right on board with Trems. We can just see Alu beginning to kind of pull away. Actually, never mind. Trems doing a pretty great job at sticking with the Alpine driver through that S section. He's done a very, very nice job of sticking with Alu through this section. Assuming that he can get this next corner down spot on, we might be looking at a possible overtake here for Trems, as now approaching the DRS zone, only 4/10 separating him and Alu. Alu obviously will be using his battery to defend from the Red Bull on this occasion, but unfortunately it doesn't look like he's actually doing so. Trems and Alu going side by side with each other heading into this next corner, and Trems barely just having enough speed to make the move stick before the corner even begins, promotes himself up into P2 as we continue to have more yellow flags in Sector 1 and 2. Sector 2 seems to be once again Przemu, who is currently in P12 at the moment, unfortunately experiencing some of his own issues. And the battle for second place continues, but a driver that this should be significantly helping should actually be Saeed, as this battle should be allowing Saeed to maybe potentially close the gap between him and some of the front runners. 3.5 tenths to start at the start of this straight, and we ride on board with Alu now to see if he can maybe make this, maybe catch up to Trems just enough to maybe make the overtake. And once again, another yellow flag through Sector 2. The horrors continue for Przemu, unfortunately. Following each other extremely carefully, and Trems, through that pressure being put onto him by the Alpine driver, unfortunately picks up a 3-second time penalty for track invalidations. And with only 6 laps left to go in this race, that is the last thing Trems needed at this current moment. All that he can hope for now is that he has enough pace to maybe drop Alu, but as we've seen through these last couple of laps, they're just trading position, and it doesn't look like he's really going to have that pace. Riding on board with Alu now through this DRS zone. DRS, of course, wide open as he's gaining on the Red Bull ever so slightly, and he takes that inside line heading towards the corner. They're side by side, and Alu actually manages to make the move stick, and once again switches positions with Trems to promote himself back up into P2. A bit disheartening for the Red Bull driver as he picked up a 3-second penalty with only a few laps left to go in this race. But of course, the race is still far from over, and there still is a chance for Trems to maybe get past Alu and retain being in P2 as well. Looking a bit down the grid, we can see that there seems to be quite a close battle going on at the moment between Zab and Saeed as well. This is for P4 in this race. Saeed, unfortunately, also picks up a 3-second time penalty. Trems and Alu have basically been at each other's throats for a considerable portion of this race. And credit to both drivers for driving brilliantly, for being so close to each other and avoiding any sort of incidences. I hope not to put a commentator's curse on this, but it really is good to see such fantastic racing, especially near the front of the grid, as once again Trems now within 3.5 tenths of Alu. And once again are we looking at both these drivers trading positions, and it seems to be the case as Trems has once again gotten past Alu and promoted himself up into P2. Both drivers just constantly switching positions through that DRS straight, as it's now Trems leading Alu with an 8.9 second gap to Bambino at the moment. As much as I'd love to bring my attention towards the other drivers and other battles going out on track at the moment, it's too enticing to watch that I don't want to switch off of watching between Trems and Alu for the last 4 laps of this race. Is now heading down the pit straight. It doesn't look like Alu's really going to be close enough on this occasion to send a move into turn 1, but hopefully if he can keep that gap close to Trems through this S section, we'll once again be looking at them switching positions. And of course, if you are just joining us here, this is Tier 2, and you are joining us here at COTA, lap 24 of 28. We've had no virtual or safety cars at the moment. Bambino currently leading this race. He has already secured the championship, but of course another win would never hurt, as he would just rally his points total up to a crazy amount. And once again, we can see Alu keeping that gap very close to Trems, heading towards the DRS section. Once again, 3/10 separating both these drivers, as Trems has had a slight moment on the exit of that corner, and it's costed him dearly, as DRS once again wide open, and Alu pushing and catching up to this Red Bull. Once again, heading towards the corner. And on this occasion, it looks like Trems has unfortunately just not enough speed to fight this position back with Alu, as he has to concede the position and drops down once again into third. Alu and Trems once again switch positions, and Alu moves back up into second place. It's a constant back and forth, and you really don't know who's going to come out on top. I'm sure both drivers at this point are going to be trying to save as much of their ERS as possible, as to defend from one another on the final few laps of this race. But with only 3 laps left to go, it's only a matter of time before this battle does find a winner. Of course, Trems does have that 3-second time penalty, which does hinder him significantly, but you still have to respect the battle between both of these drivers. They're both trying to finish ahead of each other on track. And why shouldn't they? For a quick second, we'll bring our attention down to the rest of the pack as well. I feel kind of unfair that I'm not really looking at everyone else. So Nakudza currently in P6, roughly 3.5 tenths behind Zab. Once again, the Aston Martin and the Haas team, as we saw throughout this entire session, as a matter of fact, have been fighting back and forth, and it looks like Aston Martin is at the moment currently coming out on top, with Zab currently leading ahead of Nakudza, leading ahead of Halanan, who's leading ahead of Rigo, of course. But once again, our attention comes back to Trems and Alu on this occasion actually seems to be quite further ahead than Trems. Will Trems be able to catch up to him heading into this next corner? We've seen them trading positions back and forth for a considerable amount of time now, and for the first time in the last 3 or 4 laps, Alu actually doesn't lose out on a position to Trems at this current moment, stays in P2, and Trems will have to stay behind in P3. This is a very big development for Trems, and a massive, and he should be very, very alerted now, as he's going to have to really push if he wants to stay with Alu throughout the course of the rest of the lap. Of course, obviously another DRS zone through the pit straight coming up very, very soon, but we've seen how that it's just not long enough for any of these drivers to really make a move on each other at the moment, unless they're very, very close to each other. And we'll see that now, 5 tenths now separating Trems and Alu, left 26 of 28. And we can see the gap coming down to roughly 2 tenths, and Trems once again not close enough to send it down into turn 1. But he's now going to have to stick right behind him through this S section to maybe keep up and go for another attempt through the second DRS zone. If only Trems' teammate Justaman could have been fighting up near the front of the grid with him, he might have been able to help him. But unfortunately at this moment, both Alu and Trems are kind of in no man's land, as they're both so significantly separated from the drivers ahead and the driver ahead and the drivers behind. But now 7 tenths separating Trems and Alu. We saw that the gap was significantly lower when they were trading positions earlier. It doesn't look like Trems might be close enough. It doesn't look like Trems is going to be close enough to really fight this position with Alu, but I could be completely wrong, as Trems is gaining significant amount of time on the Aston Martin, as he was very confused or thought about maybe diving it down the inside, but thinks better of it and decides to stay back for this current moment. And as Bambino crosses the line, we have now begun the penultimate lap here at COTA. Not a whole lot of time left for a lot of these drivers. Not a whole lot of time left for Trems, as he's still desperately trying to beat out Alu out on track. Which, even though if the positions have really been decided with Alu most definitely coming across, and unless like he makes a massive mistake, of course, Alu most likely going to be beating Trems, but still such an exciting battle to watch, and considering it is the closest battle out on track at the moment, it warrants our full-fledged attention. Trems now only 6.5 tenths behind Alu. Now heading once again through this DRS straight. Both drivers have obviously been saving a significant amount of their batteries for these final 2 laps, and we'll be seeing them now use them. As we can see, Trem's using most of his battery to catch up to Alu, and it looks like he caught Alu completely sleeping. Trem's with the outside line manages to make the move on Alu on the penultimate lap and promotes himself up into P2. So just when you guys thought it was over, Trends brings it back and actually catches Alu off guard significantly and manages to make the move stick. Of course, he still has that 3-second penalty, but credit to Trends for catching Alu off guard there and promoting himself up into P2 out on track. Meanwhile, Nakudza still desperately trying to get past the Aston Martin at the moment. Small gaps separating these drivers, and now Alu with a 4.5 gap to Trems. Heading down towards turn 1, obviously saving up as much of his ERS as possible, as we can see there on his steering wheel. Oh, and it looked like he actually had a lot more pace than Trems to come through that corner there, as they've both had a bit of a moment. Alu now 7.5 behind Trems. He's going to have to massively gain through this S section if he's looking to fight him through the final DRS zone. And now approaching that final DRS zone, this is where it all matters. Both drivers are going to be absolutely emptying their batteries now to make sure that they don't catch up to each other. Alu, who was unfortunately caught off guard on the lap prior to this, well, unfortunately doesn't look like he's going to have enough ERS to really catch up to Trems, as both drivers are now under 10% ERS. And it doesn't look like they're going to be able to switch positions, as Nakudza actually does manage to finally get past Zab and promote himself up into P5. But of course, through all of this, of course, we've been talking about all these battles going on throughout the rest of the track, but we can't take it away from, of course, our championship winner, who once again has proven to show why he's so dominant. Bambino comes across the line to win the Texas Grand Prix. A big congratulations to him. Trems doing a fantastic job to finish up ahead of Alu out on track. But of course, that 3-second time penalty is going to hinder him significantly as he drops down into P3 and Alu gets promoted up into P2. Saeed Al Falasi now coming across the line. Obviously, a 2.7 second gap between him and Nakudza. Comes across the line, finishes up in P4. However, with Nakudza so close behind, comes across the line, finishing up in P4, and Saeed drops down into P5. Zab comes across the line, finishing up in P6. Halanan most likely going to come across the line, finishing up in P7 as Rigo crashes out right before the line. he's just not made the line. Oh no. As O'Leary now comes through and comes across and finishes up in P10. And what a fantastic race this has been. Is there any way I can actually take control of my car? No, I cannot. Okay. I was hoping I maybe could do the final few corners, but I guess not. Oh, what a race. I'm so happy we had such an action-packed race here. And a big congratulations to Bambino, who unfortunately I didn't realize over the last session, otherwise I would have probably said something then, but again, a massive congratulations to Bambino for becoming a back-to-back champion here at Tier 2, proving and showing as to why he's so dominant. Of course, to the rest of the drivers for putting on a fantastic race here today. As I pick up the stats and the XP for driving a sensational race through this amazing Grand Prix. Thank you all so much for joining me here at Tier 2. Obviously, the championship has been decided, but the rest of the grid have yet to sort out their final positions, so a lot to be in store for us within these coming few days and the coming few races, I believe. It's been a fantastic race. There's 2 more races left to go in the season as you meet us all next week as we head down to Brazil, which obviously, as we all know, is a fantastic race and a fantastic track always. So thank you all so much for joining me in this fantastic Grand Prix, and I hope to see you all next week.